Well, first up tonight, lots of talk but no action as China and India try to prevent more violence on their Himalayan border. At the same time, India has authorized its troops to use firearms. And in a moment, live to our reporter in New Delhi. But first, here's how we got to today.
Indian and Chinese troops are locked in a standoff at several locations along their disputed border area. Last week, at least 20 Indian soldiers were killed and more than 70 injured during the violent encounter with Chinese forces in Galwan Valley. Beijing reported casualties on the Chinese side, but did not say how many. The clashes sparked a wave of anti-China sentiment in India, with many citizens boycotting Chinese goods. Several people were seen on the streets destroying Chinese-made products. The incident was said to be the first time in decades that fighting at the border led to casualties. Both sides have blamed each other for the clashes. China claims Indian troops crossed into their territory and provoked its soldiers, while India accuses Chinese troops of trying to erect a structure on their side of the border. The disputed border area, known as the Line of Actual Control, is poorly demarcated. The line runs through Ladakh, which is part of Kashmir and borders Tibet. China and India have pressed their claims along the border by building infrastructure, including roads and telephone lines, as well as sending troops on regular patrols.
And for the latest, Neha Punya joins us live from New Delhi. So, Neha, have officials made any progress on the border dispute?
It's been exactly 1 week since that deadly clash, the first time we saw casualties along the shared India-China border, and it's the second time that military leaders from both countries are meeting. While those talks are still going on, most analysts and experts that I've spoken to say they're not expecting any kind of immediate resolution on the ground, and there are several reasons for that. One, despite both sides having disengaged in the Galwan Valley, which is where that conflict took place last Monday, we are still seeing a lot of disagreement between India and China on how exactly and why this clash happened. They're both still blaming each other. They're both claiming they control Galwan Valley, the exact area where that clash took place. And more importantly, over the weekend, the Indian government has also authorized troops stationed along the line of actual control to use firearms in case of contingencies. This is the first time in decades that India has said that its troops can open fire if the situation along the shared border with China escalates. And this is going to certainly make that conversation between military generals very, very difficult. Most analysts say they're going to put more stock by when the ambassadors of the two countries meet later this week, which is likely to show more results compared to military leaders talking on the ground. Because despite the fact that both sides have said they will take no steps to escalate the situation on the ground, the troop deployment in that region continues, with both China and India actually stationing more troops, according to satellite images, in the last few days.
Neha, India's defense minister is in Russia to attend the 75th Victory Day parade. Meanwhile, India's foreign minister will attend trilateral talks with Moscow and Beijing tomorrow. How do you expect the ongoing border tensions to impact these talks?
We've seen some very hectic parleys and decision-making over the last few days. Prime Minister Modi met with the defense minister over the weekend, and it's understood that a last-minute decision was taken to ensure that the defense minister travels to Moscow. Initially, that was not the plan, but given the developments along the line of actual control, it's understood that the need was felt for him to travel in person. We're given to understand that one of the reasons why he's traveling all the way in the middle of a pandemic is because he's going to push the Russian government to expedite the delivery of the S-400 missiles, something that India has paid for already. One of the reasons why they're pushing for this is because China has already acquired them, and India wants to ensure that its arsenal is also adequately stocked if this were to escalate in the weeks and months ahead. As far as the meeting between the foreign ministers is concerned, there was also a lot of yes, it will happen, no, it won't happen, a lot of confusion right up to the last minute, with the Indian government only confirming the end of last week that yes, Dr. Jaishankar, India's foreign minister, will be participating. It's going to be a trilateral summit which the foreign minister will attend remotely via video conferencing. The Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov has said this is not a bilateral summit, which is why we're not expecting any kind of discussion specifically to do with India and China to take place. But the sense is that with Donald Trump already promising that he could mediate between India and China, an offer that both sides have rejected, perhaps Russia could become the nation that could mediate between the two countries, given its close ties with both Beijing and New Delhi. So this week is going to be one to watch out for, given all these meetings that are slated to happen over the course of the next 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, and thank you very much for keeping an eye on it for us. Neha Punya speaking to us from New Delhi.